Laurel from the great state of Florida. Welcome, Congresswoman. You would be one of the impeachment managers if the matter went to trial. So is Mayorkas doing what Biden wants him to do? And if so, why impeach him and not the puppet master?
Well, Alejandro Mayorkas bears ultimate responsibility for his willful refusal to follow the law. As Secretary of Homeland Security, he has an obligation to detain and deport people who enter this country unlawfully. And what we know is that he has abused the parole process to instead allow millions of people into our country. What's really important to understand about this is that it's something that we demonstrated through our many hearings and through witness testimony that was done knowingly and intentionally. So he has subverted the law. He directly defied court orders directing him that his policies were unlawful. And he came into Congress time and again and gave testimony to us that wasn't truthful. He said to Congress that the border was secure, that he had operational control of the border. And we know all of those things simply aren't accurate. So at the end of the day, we know that he has abused his authority. It's more than a policy. It's so much more than a policy disagreement. And fundamentally, it's a breach of public trust. America is less safe because of these millions of people that he's allowed into the country. And, you know, we took this obligation very seriously and ultimately reached the conclusion that the facts and the evidence were just overwhelming and that this was the appropriate action to take and to hold him accountable.
Congresswoman, if memory serves me correctly, you were a judge in a former life, which means you did better in law school than most of the rest of us. I want you to put your old judge hat on for a second and think about this. Over the past few years, there have been efforts or threats to impeach Rod Rosenstein, John Koskinen, Donald Trump twice, Lloyd Austin, Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, Bill Barr, probably others I've forgotten about. Have we entered into this phase of dueling impeachments? And if we have, does it cheapen the process when you might need it the most? I mean, that's what, almost 10 threats to impeach for the most part since I left Congress. And we've only had, I think, one cabinet member impeached in the history of our country. So what do you make of these dueling impeachments?
Well, Trey, you're absolutely right that impeachment is something that we should undertake only in the most important of circumstances. It's a process that should never be politicized. It's one of the most important and solemn things that we can do in Congress. And that's why House Republicans did this process the way we did. We took a very methodical, very detailed approach. We did not rush through this conclusion. We had hearing after hearing in the Homeland Security Committee to make sure that this was a lot more than just a policy difference. It was more than just incompetence or even a dereliction, that this really rose to the level of somebody who was subverting the laws. And the reason that that's so important is because this is an executive branch agency head who is really defying the law, defying the two other branches of government. So he has basically taken his role and said, I'm going to reject the laws duly enacted by Congress. I'm going to reject orders that are entered by Article 3 courts. So, you know, this is something that really goes beyond, as much as we may be frustrated with other people or think that other people aren't doing a good job. We worked so hard to make sure that we had the facts, the evidence, and the law to support the fact that this should be an impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas.
We will see whether Chuck Schumer gives you a trial, and we will be watching you in action. You were a lawyer also in a former life, so you have a chance to show off those skills if Chuck Schumer allows it to go forward. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us, Congresswoman Laurel from the great state of Florida.
Great to see you, Trey.